Hey, you
Alright
doing?
guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be interviewing a person who is one of the first people is the first person I've ever seen paint on a canvas and stream it on Discord. What is your name? To tell us.
Hi, my name's Kay Kiteswally. I'm an oil painter based in Atlanta.
Alright, good to know. And today she is drawing a piece about someone who successfully sued their husband, I
Yeah,
think.
it's not a civil court matter at the moment, but in France, it's a criminal court matter. So she testified against her husband.
Yes, and can you tell me more about what happened?
Yeah, so I have probably been loosely following this case. Her name is Giselle Bellico, and forgive me, my French accent is garbage, but I'm going to try to at least put a little bit of an accent on it. But in any case, I became aware of her case, I feel like maybe a year or two ago, and um, loosely what I understand is
Oh, by the way,
she
keep it
is.
PG-13.
Uh, Well, the nature of the crimes might make that difficult, but I'll try to do. I'll do my best. What came to light is Giselle, in her older years, middle age, midlife, uh, came to discover that her husband had been drugging her, and she had been losing consciousness, and he was assaulting her and inviting dozens of men to also participate in assaulting her while she was um,
Drugged.
drugged and completely unconscious. And she's a mother, she's a grandmother, and she came to learn of this. And at the time in France, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the laws around the legality of consent and that sort of thing were slightly different, such that because she was incapacitated, uh, it wasn't considered like violent or that she had like fought back. And I guess that was at the time a point in in the case. So the case went on through the court system for quite some time, and I would hear about it here and there. And the husband was convicted, and a number of the male perpetrators were convicted, and the defenses that the different perpetrators put up against why they should be considered innocent of these charges were wild and varied. But she prevailed. She won the case, and for France, my understanding, culturally, this was a big deal for her to be visible, unapologetic in standing up for herself,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was kind of a landmark case. And I feel like most of those convictions happened maybe about a year ago. One of the defendants appealed the conviction, not her husband, one of the other men. And in the last week or two, that case finished up, and that perpetrator was actually given more jail time, a worse sentence than when he started the appeal. And so this photo really captivated me. Let me show the as this photo in the news from that appeal really captivated me. A few things caught my attention. There's the composition of the photo. It's there's, I follow a group called Accidentally Renaissance Paintings, and usually that's a little bit about the composition. And I feel like this composition kind of has some of those elements going on. I feel like she has always like a bit of a halo of light around her and hitting the top of her hair. And then we've got different figures a little bit separated away from her, kind of a bit of a margin around her. And I find the expressions of the different figures and their attire interesting. So I feel we've got this guy in the front. She's got a red tag that says police. That red tag kind of pops contrast wise. That interests me. The fact that we see probably at least three men that I believe are all law enforcement, and they're all so similar looking in the ball cap, kind of low brim, and the beard and or the goatee and mustache look, and kind of a pretty um, serious, stern look on their faces. And then I believe the women on this side, I believe they're also law enforcement based on the uniform. Um, and they're looking, I feel like they're looking more at Giselle, and their faces are not stern. They have different expressions, but they're kind of peering into the scene. That interested me. And the kind of graphic nature of, or bold nature of the black tie and white collar. There are like a couple of men with that look. I presume they may be lawyers. And we've got a little bit of, architectural detail also in this background um, happening as well behind them. So I feel like there's a lot of interesting story in this photo. And I would like to do a larger landscape orientation painting of the whole scene. And right now I'm focused on painting Giselle and trying to get her likeness for one thing. And so I do a study, a smaller painting with just a detail. So likeness is one thing, but there's also like her posture and her expression. I feel her expression is a bit defiant. And upturn of her face is something I want to kind of work on, trying to capture. And sort of, she's kind of got her posture very tall and erect with like a chin up tilt. And
Much better than my posture.
I'm still sort of trying to understand the details of her expression. The mouth has, I would say, a bit of a downturn, but I feel there's a smile in there too. I don't know. I have to figure out, like, I see some smile in the muscles there. It's sort of a complex and mixed expression. And she's looking right at the viewer, whereas everyone else in this scene is looking in all different other directions. So those are some of the things that appealed to me just from a photograph. Like, if I didn't know any of the story, I like this photograph for a lot of those reasons. And some of the details that I feel are important to pick out when I do the larger scene. In addition to getting her as beautiful and perfectly depicted as I can, I think the contrast of the ruffles and the pink on her collar and all of these sort of tough guy police officers, I think that contrast is interesting. This police red tag, it looks very almost like homemade and ad hoc. That interests me and is another like pop of contrast. And I find myself also really interested in these two figures' expressions. The two women that are police officers as well. They've got some of the hardware and the tags and the uniforms of law enforcement. Their expressions, their body posture, it's extremely different from the other male law enforcement officers in the photo. So those are some of the things that, aside from being so inspired by her courage and her victory and how she's sort of changed a lot about culture and ideas around consent for an entire nation. Her story inspires me, but also just there's so much visually in that one photo. And so, yeah, that's what I have like ambitions of a larger portrait. I've done some, I forgot to bring them up here, but I have some ink drawings sketches that I've done of Madame Pellico from this photo that I think I'm getting a pretty good idea of how to get her likeness, but I'm still got some work to do to get that expression. And then as far as where I left off with this painting, I did this in about 2 hours a few nights ago. And for my oil paintings, I start with a very loose
Yep, you're off
underpainting.
camera.
Oh, does that matter? I'm getting ready to be off camera when I start painting. I'm about to get going.
Oh yeah, sorry, sorry.
um, yeah, so I start with a very loose, diluted with solvent mix to just cover up all the white because white can kind of um, leave some contrast that makes it a little bit hard to judge where you're at and how you're doing. So I did add another, so I call that the underpainting, that first layer that's
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
dilute. And then I did another first pass at her attire, but I really didn't touch any of the background. And even though this is a study, I do care about the overall composition for this one too, and I wouldn't leave background like that. And the other thing that I try to do as I'm painting is I generally want to build up every square inch of the canvas to a similar level of detail as I go. If I were to go further into the details of her face without considering some of what I'm intending to do in this background, there can be challenges in um, overall composition if I don't try to keep that in mind. It's not going to be like a 10% every square inch in the first pass and then another 10% in the second. It's not entirely even, but it is something that I try to be mindful of because it will. I will see a difference in the results. I think a lot of beginners, and I did this as well earlier in my art journey. A lot of beginners will focus on the subject or focus on thing that they're good at or drawn to, especially like eyes. For me, that was eyes. I would do infinite detail on the eyes before I remembered to get to the rest of the face. And by the end, when I tried to catch up with the rest of it, oftentimes I had gone off in a ditch and it was a bit of a mess because I didn't follow that principle. So, with that in mind, I'm going to make a few marks, sort of I don't know if impressionistic is the right word, but loose marks for the background to kind of, I think, give an indication of the shapes of some of these other figures. I still want to keep that sort of margin around her. So that's
Yeah.
like the first that I'm going to start working on is how to indicate how to work my negative space, how to indicate some of these figures, but still kind of keep that bit of halo around her. So that's what I'm about to jump into. And so I will I will maybe talk some while I'm doing what I'm doing, but I may also just get into it. So feel free to like ask me questions if you need me to narrate what I'm doing more. But,
Yeah. This was also today's video. This will be released after Pebblethon Day 8 as a secondary video for Pebblethon Day 9. It will come before Pebblethon Day 9's video. But the reason why I'm doing this mainly is because I wanted to bring awareness to the whole assault thing that happens in a lot of countries that I think is it's just unrecognized about how, like, it used to be very unrecognized about how many women, men, and all sorts of people get just assault in general. And as soon as I came into the call and she talked to me about what she was drawing, it inspired me to make this video because I realized that there's a lot of people out there who just don't care about other people's feelings and are just there to enjoy themselves and not let other people enjoy themselves.
another aspect of this that I don't think I touched on as much in my earlier comments is laws around what happens between married individuals. In many cases, it doesn't matter how violent or brutal an attack goes on between married individuals, it can be very challenging, and sometimes legally, uh, the parties are less able to seek justice because of the fact that there's a legal contract of marriage between them. And in many jurisdictions, I believe in the United States, that is still the case, where the laws are weaker to protect individuals.
Yeah, especially recently. Um, what another thing I would like to bring attention to is that even though I'm 11 and I mean, so not sorry, not 11, 15, I have noticed that a lot of the recent things that certain president that we have currently has done has caused a lot of women to worry about what they can do with their life in the future. And in fact, some women, aka the trans women, can't even move out of where they are right now because Trump, sorry for name dropping, but I'm just gonna say it out loud here. Trump is causing a lot of problems for those people who want to just just live somewhere else because the current times we are living in, it's really hard to just be free as originally for us America, United States of America citizens, um, we used to have freedom. Like, not everyone though. Like, like the black people, they would obviously not have freedom, but nowadays they do. But it's mostly just the men, and I wanted to bring attention that a lot of the women don't get enough freedom, and it's starting to cause a lot of problems. And sooner or later, this may extend to all people of all genders, and it's already starting to go to gay people, bisexual people like me, and a lot of other stuff is going wrong with a lot of people who are genuinely kind and deserve more respect.
Well, I was pleased today the Supreme Court rejected reconsidering the legality of gay marriage in the United States. So that felt like one positive development. But it's interesting. So the pink, some of what you just said, kind of triggered a couple of old memories for me. So in this president's first administration, I did fly to Washington in March um, in um, the Women's March, and I had I've been going to some yoga and meditation and art retreats in January in Tulum for a couple of years with uh, artists that I'm familiar with and a group of women. Some of them were return guests and some of them were new to me. But one of the return guests that I felt like I knew fairly well, and she had daughters. She has daughters. When I when I marched, when people were posting from the march, it was a business, and she made some sort of comment on social media along the lines of, uh, like, I don't understand why people are marching and what this has to do with women, or why, like, what is the point? I wish I could remember the phrasing, but it was incredibly surprising and, in my mind, tone deaf for uh, a woman, a mother of, I believe, three daughters, to indicate, like, she may disagree, we may disagree on issues, but to be, I didn't even think she was oblivious. I feel purposely acting as if she were oblivious that that the change in administration would have any impact on women's rights. And a lot has changed in that time. You're on the younger side there, but I've been an adult through both of these administrations and then some. And there are definite times where people are experiencing real challenges and real pain. In the first administration, I recall I traveled for work quite a bit, mostly domestic, but I had a business trip to Toronto. And I'm a US born citizen. My parents are naturalized. And after the Muslim ban came, became a thing in the news, and I had, in addition to being a citizen, a natural born US citizen, I actually work with government entities and had undergone um, a very rigorous security clearance process. And I started hearing some stories about people's phones at border crossing, citizens' phones around people who were citizens having their phones opened and using their Face ID, I believe, at that
Yeah.
time. And I had real anxiety about returning to the US and if I was going to be subject to anything different from my peers.
Yeah.
They're very real, practical matters. That it's not. There are lots of things, countless things I could talk about, but I'm trying to keep it PG-13. So that's one that's PG-13 for you.
Yeah. But in good news, well, actually, no, sorry, not in good news. I have something better to talk about. So, is it Charlie Kirk or JD Vance that? No, JD Vance didn't die recently. Was it Charlie Kirk, right?
Charlie Kirk was shot.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so even though I don't agree with what he was saying, it's kind of sad to see him die just because he was saying something. Freedom of speech has been known to be something that you're supposed to like protect. And those people who shot him, they weren't really going by the whole rule of it's freedom of speech. You say what you want. But even though I don't agree with what he was saying, I still feel bad for him and his family because he was just speaking. He wasn't doing anything bad-ish. Like, he may have been saying things I don't agree with, but he was just speaking. He wasn't doing anything um like physical, like violence or anything. He wasn't insulting people or anything. He was just speaking his mind. And even though I don't agree with him, I think it's kind of horrible that you would shoot a man for just saying something you don't like.
I don't know if I feel we know motivations of the shooter well enough. I am I'm unclear about the mental
Yeah,
health
I didn't
of the
get enough
shooter.
information to know what the motivation was, but I think it was just someone who didn't do just disagreed with what he was saying.
I have questions as to whether the person uh, who is
Responsible.
apprehended, the multiple scenarios of there being writing on a bullet in multiple cases uh, in short order. Uh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm waiting to see. In terms of freedom of the press, there's First Amendment. There's freedom of speech. There's freedom of press. I feel like we're experiencing some backtracking on our freedom of press as well. So it's very hard to know what your trusted news sources are and where they're getting their facts from. And you want to do a good job of being a savvy, media literate consumer of information and find things from multiple sources. Uh, Determine what sources they are citing, things like that. And so at the moment, I feel unclear as to whether I understand the circumstances around his murder.
All right. So, in actual good news this time, um, my YouTube channel has grown a lot recently. And since it has grown a lot, I have been able to, post more. And I thought that would be the perfect time to start, making more different types of videos. This is the first video, that is still uploaded on my channel that isn't about my seeing monsters.
I did ask my niece about that, my singing monsters over the weekend. She's 10. She was familiar with it. She knew more than me and my sister and my brother-in-law.
Oh, I probably know way more than she does.
I'm sure.
Anyway, um, progress report on the painting. How far do you think you've gone so far?
I'm a visual person. I don't know what kind of metric you're looking for.
Oh, it's
I have
okay.
so
Uh,
so
well,
much.
actually, from what I'm seeing, is you're like, I would say a third of the way done with the black coloring in part.
I tend to skip around a bit too, so um, I'm really undecided as to whether I'm gonna whether this guy's face is gonna be in my final composition. But yeah, I'll do some black for a little bit, and I need to figure out how far up the little light patches will be. But I really want to get into the ruffles on her collar and
Yeah,
the highlights and shadows. So I may not go in sequential order. So if you think I'm whatever percent done on the black, I may jump to the pink in just a moment. So that's another reason why I'm like, I'm not sure what you're asking. That's not really the way my process works.
yeah. Um, in good some other news, I have officially finished my PNG tuber model, so streams are coming sooner or later. Just need to get OBS working on my very laggy computer. Uh, so the streams are most likely going to be very laggy, but I will try to keep the lag to a minimum. But yeah, there's going to be streams, and I hope they don't end up too bad. I'll try not to say bad things like I did last time. I was a very impressionable 13-year-old back then when I last did streams, and it caused me a lot of bad tension between some people. So I'm gonna try and avoid doing those kind of things to like cause people turmoil. Because I was back then I was a rageful 13-year-old who was very impressionable. Like, yeah. But nowadays, I think I have recovered from being very impressionable. But hey,
It's a whole journey. I know plenty of adults and grandparents who are shockingly gullible.
yeah, especially with the new resurgence of AI videos causing a lot of older people to think that they're real and make it like something that they think actually happened. So like fake news that was made via AI videos, it is very, very bad, and I think AI nowadays is getting too good at doing its stuff. So, I
This is
think,
why I into physical traditional art more so than digital art. That's
yeah,
um, part of my philosophy. In physical art, traditional art news and analog world news, I I should plug my Instagram is Kites Wally. Kites like flying kites, and then Wally in South Asia is like the girl, the kite girl. Wally means the girl, Walla means the guy. So Chai Walla is the guy who brings chai tea around. So I'm Kites Wally on Instagram. And I had a very art filled weekend. I had to drop off two paintings to a
before you
holiday.
continue, um,
Yes,
please send me your Instagram link so I can put it in the description. Anyway, continue.
I'll do. I had two paintings to drop off at an art gallery near me for a holiday show. And then I had 3 paintings in a exhibition that's running through January 10th, 3 watercolor paintings. And took my sister and my niece and my brother-in-law to go check out that gallery. They weren't able to come to the opening a week ago. They were out of town. So we got to go check that out. And then I went and supported another friend in an artist talk after that. So I literally went from art event to art event all day yesterday.
Yeah, pretty cool. I know you didn't get to paint a lot, but it's reached 30 minutes in the video, and I don't want to post a too long video or it will take too long to upload. So I think I'm going to end it off here. Check out her Instagram and the rest of the stuff, and I will see you guys later.